And it is another Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time. And what does that mean? It means once again, we have the pleasure, we have the honor of being able to speak to you via social media, either here on the live or on the replay of the CVC Home Service Success Network. This is presented every week by the CVC Success Group. And the reason we do it is hopefully to share some ideas and concepts and processes that can help you. We've got a tremendous viewership going on this on the replay. We're averaging upwards of 20,000 every week in downloads. So we're feeling pretty good. We're getting the message out that people are using and they're helping them go to a level that they want to aspire to in this world. So today's topic is one that is something that happens in life. It happens in business, it happens in life, and that is the word change. Because here's the very real thing, change can be very painful. Sometimes change is dumped on us suddenly, totally unexpected, out of the blue. And I'm going to talk about a couple of those today, and where painful change has resulted in tremendous benefit to the people that were able to undergo this change. And every day, it seems like I have conversations with clients, with others, about how change is affecting their life and affecting their business. So, Cheryl, when we talk about change, what comes to mind in you about how painful change can be? What would you say about this topic?
Well, anything that happens very, very quickly that's painful, that change can just blow you out of the water. But the thing about it is, things change every day, some for the better, some for the worse. And it's not that things change, it's how you deal with it. Or that's my opinion anyway. And I think probably it's because you and I are older than quite a few of our listeners are. And we've seen a lot of change in our time. We've had to deal with a lot of change. And there was some of it that we learned a lot from. So people just need to take it in stride. They need to realize what changed, how did it change their life, how can they make use of that change. But yeah, people notice when changes change for the worse much quicker than they do for the better.
Yep. And it takes me back because I've written several books in my time. And one of the first one was the title of it was Chaos to Reinvention. And what the subject matter of this book was the painful changes I had went through that I also labeled as chaos. So Cheryl, would you agree that many times we view change as chaos, where we just look at the most horrible things in the world are going to happen because now we are faced with this change? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, it throws you into a frenzy. You start grasping for straws. You start looking back and where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Well, tomorrow, what's tomorrow going to bring? That was always the biggest fear. What is tomorrow going to bring? Because you're in such a whirlwind, you can't justify it. And until you can start grasping it, as you know, until you had the magic moment of when you could change a different way and go forward, it was chaotic. It was hard for both of us, but we made it through, and you came out on the other side actually better than you went in.
It did. And I see this a lot with companies where they're faced with a challenge. And the challenge either a top producing member of their team has unexpectedly terminated themselves, have turned in a notice, or at times they just don't come to work one day. This was a leading guy or gal in the company. And from this, what happens is it's a tremendous change. They've got to find somebody new, which is what you deal with continuously every single day, finding new people out here and go through this change. But I know I went through this and saw one client who had this happen earlier this year, where a very experienced, long-time employee came in the office when nobody was there, left his equipment there, all the company property, and left them a note that he would not be back, that he was quitting effective immediately. And that was a tremendous challenge. But yet they found someone who has filled that role significantly much better. I also had a conversation earlier today with a client who had had to make a decision to terminate someone that wasn't able to do their job properly. And naturally, it filled him with a lot of fear. But now he's made the change. And now what we do is we're having a very productive person who is fitting the culture of the company much better. So even though change is going to occur, we've got to saddle up this change, and how do we write it out to make it effectively? That's the question we all face, because change can be painful. It really can. But many times in life, we have to decide if we're going to go in through the pain of change, or are we going to remain in the pain that we are in? It's a very hard thing to deal with. Cheryl, do you hear these conversations with people?
Day after day. It's seems like it's worse now than it ever was. I think it's because the world's changing so much. People are afraid. People don't know what to do. Their tempers are just right at the top of the screen, and they don't think things through. They just move, they leave, and they don't look at the repercussions. And the bad or the good part, many times these people will try to come back.
Yeah. And, we've got change coming up in the coming days. By the time you listen to this podcast, if you're listening to replays, it may have already occurred, because next Tuesday, we're going to have an election in this country. There's going to be a winner, we hope, and there's going to be a loser. And we hope it's decided on Tuesday. We hope this doesn't drag out like we've seen it in the past for days or even weeks and months. We hope that we have this decided very quickly. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be ecstatic because of this change, whatever it ends up being. There are going to be other people that are going to be very disappointed with this change. We've all heard people say, hey, if so-and-so gets elected, I'm leaving this country. Really? Are you really going to do that? I doubt it. When you go through, Cheryl, as a mother, there comes a time that your children leave the nest. This is a significant change for a mother, that now their children are no longer in the nest. How does that feel? How does that feel as a mother?
It's two-sided. One side of you in your brain thinks, oh, now some peace and rest. So they think it's going to be a good thing. 2 minutes later, you're thinking, my children are gone. I'm alone. What am I going to do? The world's changing now. And it is. And then they move on. Some of them move back. They move back out. But it's worse than losing any employee. I will tell you that. It kind of guts you deep. But it was good. I mean, you and I have both had huge changes in our lives. We both of us at one time lost every employee in our company. So, talk about that. Your employees are kind of like your children at times, and you lose them. So you just back up and punt, and then all of a sudden your grandkids are born, and then you have those, and then they're grown up. Mine are grown up, but you have them on holidays, but you're always still a part of their life. I think it's worse on the mom than on the dad. What do you say?
It is. It really is. It's much worse on the mother because, yes, I mean, there is a connection between a child and the mother that the father really doesn't have. Okay. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's nature. That is, I mean, they came from you. They were a part of you. You had that in your body for 9 months, 8.5 months, however long it was happening. I guess it's really strange today. I hear people say, well, I'm scheduled to have a child. I'm scheduled to have my baby on Tuesday of next week. It's like, didn't used to have that. They didn't predict and tell you what day to plan to go to the hospital back in those days, did they, Cheryl?
No, and it never was at a good time. I will put it that way.
It never was at a convenient time, but it was change. So here's the thing you got to do. You have to be ready for change. We see so many people that someone leaves the company. And what you've got to do, you've got to have a plan in place at all times to replace those people. Because what I also see is I see people that are handcuffed. because they are so scared to come out of the comfort zone to embrace the change that they really got to make. And this is the thing, if you're a leader in a company, you have to make these changes. You may have to terminate people because they're the wrong person in a seat that they can't fill and they're not helping you in the company. And it's often when you see this happen that it just blows people apart. It blows people apart. And Cheryl, you encounter this a lot. You've got clients that are going to lose people and they are overwhelmed with the concept of bringing someone new in the company, aren't they?
It's not a good feeling for them. They're not wanting to start over again. They were at a level they wanted to be, and now they're beginning again.
Yeah.
So anxiety, despair, just pure fear.
That overwhelming feeling. So this whole thing, this is what we have to understand. Change is inevitable in this world. Change is something that we're going to have to deal with, whether we like it or not. This world is not a constant. Everything doesn't stay the same every day. There will be changes. In the coming week, we know that there will be a new president of this country. We're going to have to adjust to this. It may not be my choice. It may not be Cheryl's choice. It may not be your choice. This has happened in the past. But what we've got to do is remember that we are a country that we must stay united as a group in order to move to forge ahead of where we're going to go. So, Cheryl, is anything you want to add on this topic before we close out this week's episode?
The only thing I'd like to say to people is look at change, take it, work with it. Because if change didn't happen, this would be a really boring world sometimes. So it's not always a negative thing. So I just want to add that. Usually we look at it as negative, but sometimes change is good.
Yep, that's it. So with that, we're going to end this week's episode here on the CVC Home Service Success Network. We appreciate you joining us every week. It's always truly an honor. It's a privilege. It's a pleasure. And I love to look at those numbers in the couple days after this to watch how we are getting replays, how people are watching this. And it's our sincere hope that the things that we say, the things that we share with you will make a difference in your life, in your business. And with that, we'll talk to you next week on the next episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Have a fantastic weekend and a fantastic week ahead of you. Look forward to seeing you next week. Talk to you next time.